Since Silvery Barbs was published in Strixhaven, A Curriculum of Chaos, the community has absolutely been blowing up about it. Many DMs have immediately banned it from their table, and others have changed it or modified it away to make it a little bit more palatable for them. And one person even on Twitter told me that it's really just a slightly cooler True Strike. Let that sink in. So obviously I nor any rational person should really think that this is the case. Silvery Barbs is obviously much more than a slightly cooler True Strike, but nevertheless I have put off making a video on this topic for a while because I wanted to see if some of the fury about the spell would sort of taper off, and it seems to be maybe a little bit, so alas, here we are. So today, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Silvery Barbs, what the problem with it is, how I would fix it, and ultimately why I'm going to be doing absolutely nothing about it at my table. So before I move on, I do just want to give a sincere thank you to everybody who's been watching my videos and subscribing. The count has really been climbing up a lot recently, and I'm genuinely blown away by it. So thank you so much. If you have not already, please do consider subscribing. It is completely free, and it really does help support me in a lot of ways. So thank you so much. Alright, so for those of you who don't already know, Silvery Barbs is a first level School of Enchantment spell which is available to bards, sorcerers, and wizards. Its casting time is a reaction, it has a range of 60 feet, it only has verbal components, it can be cast instantly, and there is no saving throw tied to it. So what the spell actually allows you to do is that whenever you see a creature within that range that succeeds on an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you are able to force them to re-roll that d20, possibly turning that success into a failure. This is effectively allowing you to impose disadvantage on a creature after they've already found out if they succeed or not, which on its own is already pretty savage. But there's actually still more. At the same time that you do that, you're also allowed to pick any other creature within that same range, including yourself, and grant advantage to them on any attack roll, ability check, or saving throw within the next minute. So what's the problem then? Honestly, at first glance, the spell itself seems kind of innocuous, and honestly, I'll admit that the first time that I read through it, I didn't really give it much of a second thought. But when you take a minute, you start to see the problems. Being a first level spell, the value proposition for this thing is just so high. It doesn't require concentration. It can be cast instantly. It can outclass the very infamous Lucky Feat and even the second level spell Fortune's Favor in many circumstances. As far as I'm concerned though, the real power from the spell comes from the sheer repeatability of it. Theoretically, every round, provided you have the available spell slots, you can be imposing disadvantage on an enemy for an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, and granting advantage to a party member for those same rolls. Every round. And if you're a wizard with a spell, you've got Arcane Recovery, so getting those spell slots back isn't even really much of a big deal. Just imagine a group of NPCs or enemy combatants all chaining this together against your party. That honestly sounds devastating. So how would I actually fix it then? So firstly, there are a few catches to the spell that you should definitely be aware of. Its casting time being a reaction means that you cannot preemptively cast it like you can with Fortune's Favor. It also doesn't effectively give you a third dice in some situations like Lucky and Fortune's Favor also can do, and it also derives no benefit from being upcast in the way that Fortune's Favor does. Now, notwithstanding all that, and to be very clear, Silvery Barbs is an extremely powerful spell, probably venturing into overpowered territory. It's basically too good not to use. Now that said, the biggest problem with the spell, and as I mentioned earlier, isn't actually even the power level of it. You can have crazy powerful first level spells. That's okay. The biggest problem that I really see with the spell is the sheer repeatability of it. Now, this is something that I have seen quite a lot of people address already, and I admit that I have absolutely not read every article and watched every video about it, so please forgive me if my idea is not actually all that original. Many people have attempted to fix or adjust a spell by either making it a third level spell or even requiring concentration. Now, to be clear, I don't actually think that either of these are bad ideas, but between the two of either making it a third level spell or requiring concentration, I would probably tend towards making it require concentration. Although that being said, I'm still not even sure that that really solves the main problem of the spell, because it's kind of likely that the gap between when you cast it and when you need to be rolling those dice is so small that you're not really going to be needing to make any concentration saving throws anyway. And similarly, by the same token, it's probably better than whatever you were concentrating on anyway, so you would likely just drop that in most situations. Certainly not all, but in a lot of situations you probably would. So it's just kind of a wash. As for making it a third level spell, I think you probably just wouldn't use it. And honestly, to me, that's kind of sad. Being at third level, you're competing with the likes of Fireball and Counterspell and Haste and Lightning Bolt, all of which odds are you might be better off just using. I'll take the AC and the speed and the extra attack of Haste over the benefits of Silvery Barbs probably any day of the week. And similarly, I'd probably rather you just kill the thing with Fireball or Lightning Bolt than derive any of the benefits from Silvery Barbs either. Because despite its high power level and apparent brokenness, I actually think it's a really cool spell, and I would love to actually see it be used. So the way that I would fix it, and again, forgive me if other people have suggested this already, is really just by adding a material component to the spell that has a gold value attached to it, so it cannot be overcome by the simple use of an arcane focus. It can be anything from a piece of silver thread worth 5 gold pieces to a diamond worth 50 gold pieces. It really doesn't matter what it actually is, what that material component is, because the beauty of the solution is that you, as the DM, you have control over the availability of this component in your world, and as a result, how often Silvery Barbs can be cast. I would certainly not make it something that's unattainable, but by giving your caster limited access to the resources to cast the spell, you solve the problem of the repeatability of it. You make them think about the instances when they want to use it versus when they shouldn't use it. They're not likely to be spamming the spell every single round if they have a very minimal access to the components to be able to cast it. And by the same token, when you do this, you're also not pulling back or limiting the fun or accessibility or use of some other more fun or powerful spells in the game. So at the top of the video, I did mention that I would not be doing a thing about Silvery Barbs. I will be allowing it to be run completely as written at my table. And the reason for that is maybe I'm just really lucky, but when my group gets together to play, we do so because we love the game and because we really just like having fun as a group. And I'm fortunate enough that for me, being the DM, my group includes me in that. They're not really the type of people that are going to be overusing a spell just because it's OP or because the internet told them to. They love doing powerful things and they love feeling creative in the moment. They love thinking about interesting ways of solving problems and navigating combat. And I'm extremely grateful and thankful for that. So that's my, maybe hot take. But until the next one, take care.